As the sickness spreads and certainty fades, something even quieter begins to disappear. Rules. Not laws written on parchment, but the invisible ones people live by every day. Who you trust, who you obey, who you help first when everything starts to fall apart. A few centuries after the plague, on the morning of November 1st, 1755, the city of Lisbon wakes up for a holy day. Churches are full, candles are lit. The streets feel safe, then the ground moves. Not gently, violently. In less than 10 minutes, one of Europe's richest cities collapses. Buildings crack open like paper boxes. Fires ignite from fallen candles. Survivors run toward the harbour, believing water means safety. The sea pulls back, then returns as a wall. 3 disasters in a row: earthquake, fire, tsunami. What happens next is not chaos right away. It is confusion. People wait for instructions that never come. Priests debate meaning, nobles flee, soldiers hesitate, and in that pause, order simply dissolves. Looting begins, not because everyone turns evil, but because hunger and fear move faster than authority. According to letters preserved in the Portuguese archives, bodies remain in the streets for days not out of cruelty, but because no one knows who is responsible anymore. Then one man steps forward, Sebastião José de Carvalho e Melo, later known as the Marquis of Pombal. He does not pray for guidance. He does not wait for permission. He famously says, "Bury the dead and feed the living." It sounds obvious. It was revolutionary. He deploys troops to restore order, fixes food prices to stop panic, and rebuilds the city with new earthquake-resistant designs. Modern disaster response is born not from theory, but from failure. Here's the uncomfortable question for us: when rules vanish, do we freeze or adapt? History suggests that survival often belongs to those who understand one hard truth early. When the old rules stop working, clinging to them can be more dangerous than letting them go. And as order collapses, individuals face something even more personal than chaos. They face choices, quiet ones, desperate ones, choices that will decide whether hope survives at all. By now the ground has stopped shaking, the fires have burned out, and the sickness has already taken what it could. Yet survival is still not guaranteed. This is the moment history rarely dramatizes properly. Not the disaster itself, but the long pause afterward when people must decide what kind of hope they are willing to carry. In 1914, far from cities and churches, a ship named Endurance sails into the Antarctic ice. Its leader, Ernest Shackleton, is not chasing survival. He is chasing glory discovery headlines. The plan is bold, detailed, and confident. Nature has other ideas. The ice closes in slowly, day by day. No dramatic crash, just pressure, until the ship is lifted, cracked, and finally destroyed. Shackleton and his crew stand on frozen silence, watching their homes sink beneath the ice. Here is the choice. Shackleton could cling to the original plan. Many leaders did, and history quietly buried them. Instead, he does something radical. He lets the dream die so the people can live. He gathers his men and tells them the goal has changed. Not exploration, not fame, survival. Every decision from this moment forward must serve that purpose alone. They ration food. They keep routines to protect morale. They tell jokes. Yes, jokes. According to crew diaries preserved by the Royal Geographical Society, laughter becomes as important as calories. Hope, it turns out, needs maintenance. Let me ask you something. In a crisis, would you rather hear a comforting lie or a difficult truth spoken calmly? Shackleton chooses truth, and because of that, every single man survives. History shows this pattern again and again. When desperation rises, people often chase easy hope. A miracle cure, a quick rescue, a promise with no plan. Those hopes collapse fast. But grounded hope, the kind built on adaptation and honesty, moves quietly and lasts longer. As conditions worsen, survival stops being about strength. It becomes about judgment, about knowing when to hold on and when to let go. And sometimes even that is not enough. Because beyond good decisions and strong leadership, there are moments in history when survival crosses into something rarer. moments where logic runs out, probability collapses, and life continues anyway. That is where our story moves next. Somewhere between logic and chance, history slips into a quieter register. This is where survival no longer feels earned. It feels borrowed. On the morning of August 6th, 1945, the city of Hiroshima is already awake. Trams are running. Children are walking to school. Office workers are opening windows to let the summer air in. At 8:15 in the morning, the sky flashes white. In less than a second, the temperature near the centre of the blast rises hotter than the surface of the sun. Buildings vanish. Shadows are burned into stone. According to records later compiled by the Japanese Red Cross, tens of thousands die instantly. Many more will not survive the weeks that follow, and yet some do. There is a man named Tsutomu Yamaguchi, an engineer visiting Hiroshima on business. He's thrown into the air, burned and blinded in one eye. Against reason, he survives the blast. He finds his way out of the city. He gets on a train. The next morning, injured and exhausted, he reports to work in Nagasaki. And then the sky flashes again. Yamaguchi survives a second atomic bombing. Doctors later confirm him as one of the very few people officially recognized to have lived through both explosions. When asked how he never claims strength or bravery, he simply says he was lucky. That word appears again and again in survivor testimonies. Not hero, not chosen, lucky. Let me ask you this. If survival depended not on preparation or decisions, but on where you stood, which direction you faced, which wall happened to remain standing, how would you make sense of that? Many survivors struggled with this question for the rest of their lives. Why them? Why not others? Psychologists later call it survivor guilt, but the feeling existed long before the name. These moments challenge our favourite stories about control. They remind us that survival is sometimes a fragile alignment of timing, kindness and randomness. A door left open, a stranger who hesitates and chooses to help. When survival reaches this point, it stops being just a personal victory. It becomes a responsibility to remember, to speak, to carry forward what was almost lost. And that weight carried quietly by those who lived shapes what comes next. Because once survival feels like a miracle, it changes how people understand life itself. After the smoke clears and the noise fades, survival leaves behind something heavier than relief. It leaves questions. In 1972, a small aircraft carrying a Uruguayan rugby team crashes into the Andes Mountains. Snow everywhere, no trees, no shelter. Radio contact fades. Search teams give up after 8 days. Officially, everyone on board is declared dead, but 16 people are still alive. For more than 2 months, they endure freezing nights, avalanches, hunger so severe it becomes physical pain. They do things they never imagined they would do. Choices later described in court records and survivor interviews with brutal honesty. Not to shock, to explain. Eventually, 2 of them walk for 10 days across mountains they do not understand, wearing shoes made from scraps. Against reason, they find help. The others are rescued soon after. When asked how they survive, the answers are never simple. Not strength alone, not faith alone, not leadership alone. It is cooperation, shared purpose, and the decision to keep meaning alive when comfort disappears. Here is the part history often whispers instead of shouts. Survival changes people permanently. Many of those who lived through the Andes crash say life afterward felt sharper. Food tasted different. Time felt louder. Small problems seemed almost humorous. One survivor later said that after facing death daily, missing a bus no longer felt like a tragedy. It felt like a joke the universe was playing gently. So let me ask you something quietly. If survival stripped your life down to what truly mattered, what would still be standing? History shows that societies learn the same way individuals do. After disasters, we redesign cities, we rewrite safety rules, we improve medicine. But the deeper lesson is emotional. We relearn how fragile normal life really is. When survival becomes a miracle, it stops being an ending. It becomes a beginning. A reminder that life is not measured only by how long it lasts, but by how consciously it is lived. And as this story draws its final breath, it leaves us with something simple and powerful. Most people who ever lived did not expect to become survivors. They simply adapted when the world asked them to. And somehow, that was enough. When the danger finally loosens its grip, history does not simply return to normal. It never does. Survival leaves fingerprints on the future. After the Great Fire of London in 1666, the city is reduced to ash. More than 13,000 homes gone in a matter of days. And yet from that destruction comes something unexpected. New building codes, wider streets, brick replaces timber. The city learns slowly and painfully that survival is not only about escaping the flames, but about remembering them. The same pattern appears again and again. After cholera devastates European cities in the 19th century, governments begin to take sanitation seriously. Sewers are built. Clean water becomes a public responsibility. According to records from the British Public Health Act of 1848, life expectancy in cities begins to rise within a generation. Survival changes priorities, and sometimes it changes people in quiet, almost humorous ways. Survivors often say they become terrible at small talk. When you have faced real danger, pretending to care about trivial drama feels like acting in a play you no longer believe in. Many laugh about it later. Perspective, it turns out, comes with a sense of humour, but beneath that humour is something deeper. Those who survive often carry a responsibility they never ask for. To remember what failed, to warn others, to build something sturdier than before. Museums, memorials, safety laws, emergency drills. All of these are echoes of past survival. Let me ask you one final question tonight. If people centuries from now studied our time, what lessons would they say we learned? And which ones did we ignore? History is honest even when we are not. It shows us that survival is rarely about being the strongest or the smartest. More often it belongs to those who adapt, who help one another, who accept reality without surrendering hope. When survival becomes a miracle, it does not mean the world was kind. It means humans were resilient. And that resilience is not loud. It does not announce itself. It whispers one choice at a time across generations. Thank you for spending this time with me, for listening, for wondering, for carrying these stories quietly into your own night. If this journey stayed with you, there are many more waiting. Rest well, stay curious, and I will see you again in the next story.